dangerous out here, man. If you ain't from here, don't come here. Please don't. It's real. It's hectic.
These guys don't care child, woman, baby, male. They don't care who. These guys don't have no remorse and no respect for nobody. They just shoot. Yeah. Yes, it's pretty hectic in
The
this.
O Block is a battleground where globally iconic hip-hop and rap stars were born and molded, but countless lives have also been lost. But how did talents like Chief Keef and King Von emerge from such chaos? What turned this public housing complex into a war zone? Behind the Gunsmoke lies a complex history of gangs, poverty, and a struggle for survival. In this video, we're taking you deep inside the real O Block. The truth about this infamous block is more unbelievable than fiction. And with that said, let's get started.
When I first came to Greenie, I saw opportunity, and for a long time, there was amazing. There was an amazing social network.
Fate had other plans. A devastating fire in the 1950s reduced White City to ashes, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter for this part of Chicago. Now fast forward to the 1950s. Amid the ashes of White City, a new vision took shape. Parkway Gardens. Now this sprawling 35-building complex was constructed with one goal in mind: to provide affordable housing for Chicago's growing population. Now the building rose from the ground like a promise, offering a fresh start to thousands of families. Back then, Parkway Gardens were a haven. The lawns were green, flowers bloomed in the gardens, and children played safely in the courtyards. It was a community in every sense of the word, filled with hope and potential.
When I was growing up, this was considered the elite property for doctors, lawyers, nurses, professional people that lived over here. This was the cornerstone of our
Early residents of Parkway Garden were a mix of working-class families and aspiring professionals. Now among them was a young Michelle Obama, who would later recall her brief time there with a sense of nostalgia for the simpler, safer days. The company thrived on mutual respect and a shared dream of a better future. Neighbors knew each other, and there was a sense of pride in keeping the area clean and welcoming. However, as the decades rolled on, changes began to seep into the fabric of Parkway Gardens. The initial promise of a peaceful, prosperous community started to fade. The economic downturns and societal shifts of the 70s and 80s began to take their toll. Jobs became scarce, and the once tidy courtyards grew neglected. With these changes came an influx of gang activity, slowly turning this neighborhood into a battleground.
You carry your children downstairs and they play, and you never know what's going to happen. You be sitting down there playing 1 minute, and whenever the fellas get into a rage and want to start shooting, or, a little scaffold come between them, you have to run, and you can't run to the elevator because who going to wait for the elevator when somebody's shooting?
Parkway Gardens, aka O Block, has a really dark past, but it wasn't always gangbanging and shootouts in Parkway Gardens, because before the apartment complex was even built, it was a huge amusement park that was constructed May 1905 and closed 1950. And this amusement park was claimed to be one of the most largest parks of its type in the United States at its time. It contributed to Chicago's status as the city of the most amusement parks in the United States until 1908. But in 1933, the park was closed due to a loss of revenue in the Great Depression years. The Chicago Housing Authority purchased this land in 1946 in order to build a public housing complex that they would call Parkway Gardens. And by 1950, construction would begin, which was completed in 1955. Parkway Gardens Homes was the first housing complex in Chicago that was
But before we explore the transformation, it's essential to understand the roots of Parkway Gardens. From its early days as White City to the construction of a thriving community, this area has always been a place of change. And as we'll see, it's this very ability to change, often in the face of adversity, that defines the enduring spirit of the O Block. As the 1970s gave way to the 1980s, a darker shadow began to loom over Parkway Gardens. Economic hardships and social changes created a fertile ground for gang culture to take root. Two names would soon dominate the narrative: the Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples. Now, these rival factions started carving out territories, and Parkway Gardens found itself caught right in the middle of the crossfire.
Here in Chicago, 29 young persons have been killed in youth gang murders since January 1st. One gang, the Blackstone Rangers, is said to be responsible for nearly half of those killings.
The Gangster Disciples, or GDs, were the first to establish their presence. Now, their influence spread quickly through the neighborhood, bringing in a new sense of order, but also a wave of terror and violence. Not long after, the Black Disciples, or the BDs, began to assert their control. The two gangs became locked in a brutal battle for dominance, and the once peaceful courtyards of Parkway Gardens turned into contested territory. In the early 1990s, this simmering tension erupted into open conflict. The community, which had once thrived on unity and mutual respect, now found itself divided by invisible lines of allegiance. The early gang wars were marked by skirmishes and retaliations, each side trying to assert its dominance over the other. The atmosphere of Parkway Gardens shifted dramatically, with fear and mistrust replacing the sense of safety and community. Amidst the turmoil, the neighborhood underwent another transformation. The area came to be known as Wick City, a moniker that stood for Wild, Insane, Crazy City. The name captured the chaotic and unpredictable nature of life in Parkway Gardens during these years. However, this identity was short-lived. The death of a beloved community member named Kita brought about another change. Kita, a well-respected figure in the neighborhood, passed away due to heart failure, and in her honor, the area was renamed Kita World.
Kita died, you know what I'm saying, kind of hurt a lot of people in O Block. You know what I'm saying? She was the queen. You know what I'm saying? She would have been heard about today. You know what I'm saying? She would survive. She might have would have been with Chief Keef and the guys. If not, she would have been in there with when Vaughn blew up. You know what I'm saying? Because she was one of the talked about person out there.
The tribute didn't end there. A young up-and-coming rapper named Chief Keef, who'd been deeply affected by Kita's death, penned a song titled Dead and Gone in her memory. This track resonated deeply with the community, encapsulating their grief and respect for Kita. Now, Chief Keef's music began to gain traction, not just locally, but on a national level, bringing the struggle and stories of Parkway Gardens to a wider audience. But the respite was brief. The gang conflict continued to escalate, leading to more violence and even more loss. Each death and each act of retaliation added another layer to the complex history of Parkway Gardens. To underscore the transformation from Parkway Gardens to O Block, we need to revisit a warm summer night in 2011, a night that changed everything. O.D. Perry, a 20-year-old member of the Black Disciples, was well known and respected within his community. But on August 10, 2011, his life was brutally cut short. O.D. was riding his bike near Parkway Gardens when he was ambushed and shot multiple times. His death wasn't just a loss to his friends and family, but a seismic event that would ripple through the entire neighborhood.
2011, I experienced like my first friend get my best friend OD.
Then thinking about like, damn, O wasn't even closest to the shooter, BJ was, fact. And O got hit with all the shots. And it was just like, damn, bro, it was sad, man. And then T-Roy was right there with him his last little moments, and then T-Roy said that O was like, damn, they got me, bro. Like that was his.
It was a pivotal event that led to the area being named O Block in his honor. This name would come to symbolize not just the gang wars, but also the resilience and enduring spirit of those who lived there. The shockwaves of Odie Perry's murder were immediate and profound. His death wasn't just another statistic in the ongoing gang war, it was a defining moment. The person responsible for this act was none other than Jakira Barnes, known on the streets as K.I., a teenage girl who had gained a fearsome reputation for her role in the violence. K.I. was just 17 at the time, yet she'd already made a name for herself as a deadly force within the rival gangster disciples. Odie's murder wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a relentless cycle of violence and retribution that had been escalating for years. But his death hit close to home, stirring deep emotions and a fierce determination among his friends and fellow gang members. The aftermath of this tragedy saw the community come together in grief and resolve. Odie's friends vowed to honor his memory, and in the gritty streets of Parkway Gardens, a new name began to echo: O Block.
You gotta know I go too far. Get 2 O's up on this honey, one of.
After Odie Perry's death, the graffiti that began to appear on the walls, the social media posts, and the hushed conversations all pointed to a shared determination to keep Odie's memory alive. This new identity brought a renewed sense of solidarity among the residents, but it also marked the area as a significant battleground in the ongoing gang wars. The legacy of Odie Perry and the establishment of O Block became a rallying cry, intensifying the sense of rivalry and loyalty among the gang members. As O Block solidified its identity, the violence continued, but so did the stories of those who lived there, each one contributing to the complex web of this infamous neighborhood. From 2011 to 2014, the violence in O Block reached unprecedented levels. The murder of Odie Perry marked the beginning of a bloody era. During these years, O Block saw a staggering number of shootings and homicides. In just 3 years, 19 people were shot, making it one of the most dangerous blocks in Chicago. 2 of those victims didn't survive, leaving families shattered and the community on edge. One of the victims is Odie's suspected killer, Jakira K.I. Barnes, who was murdered in retaliation for Odie's death.
She was a very, very beautiful, well-known, lovely girl.
17-year-old Jakira Barnes loved basketball, her friends, and being with family.
I love her, and I'm gonna fight for her to have justice, because I don't think it's fair that we're losing our kids being gunned down every day in the streets.
I wish I was laughing with my sister for. I wish I was sending my sister this money. I wish I was sending my sister these pictures of me at these interviews on these platforms. I wish I was showing courage. Oh, too. That hurt my soul.
The police, desperate to stem the tide of violence, implemented various strategies. Increased patrols, community policing initiatives, and gang audits were all part of their efforts. Officers patrolled the area 24/7, hoping to create a sense of security. And yet, despite all of these efforts, the violence continued unabated, driven by deep-seated rivalries and the pervasive influence of gang culture. Amid this chaos, a new generation of key figures emerged, bringing both notoriety and attention to O Block. Chief Keef, born Keith Cozart, burst onto the music scene with his gritty, raw depiction of life in Chicago's most dangerous neighborhoods. His music, particularly the hit I Don't Like, resonated with many and brought the harsh realities of O Block to a global audience. Another pivotal figure was King Von, whose real name was Davon Bennett. Von's storytelling ability and authenticity in his lyrics earned him a devoted following. His music even detailed the violent life that he led, providing a window into the daily struggles and feuds that plagued O Block. Von's death in 2020 only added to his legend, cementing his place in the lore of O Block. These years also saw significant feuds that further fueled the violence. Now, the rivalry between the Black disciples and the gangster disciples intensified, leading to numerous deadly encounters. Each incident added another layer to the complex web of revenge and retaliation that defined life in O Block. As the violence escalated in O Block, a powerful cultural movement began to take shape, giving voice to the struggles and stories of its residents. This movement was drill music, a raw and gritty genre that emerged from the south side of Chicago. Drill music became the soundtrack of O Block, capturing the harsh realities of life in a way that was both authentic and unapologetic.
What I be rapping about, we don't be lying about this.
rapping about what the living out there, you know what I'm saying? Right? Deeper than rap, really.
So what would you call that movie?
So we call it drill music.
Drill music. Okay, cool,
drill
cool,
music.
cool,
like,
cool, cool.
How you all hyped up and just
No doubt.
ready to go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of niggas do this shit for YouTube views and all this shit. We trying to eat, we got killed.
The rise of drill music is inexorably linked to O-Block, and at the forefront of this movement was Chief Keef. Now, he'd exploded onto the scene with his breakout hit I Don't Like in 2012. The song's aggressive beats and blunt lyrics resonated deeply with listeners, offering a stark portrayal of life in the streets. Keef's success brought national attention to O-Block, turning the neighborhood into a symbol of the drill music movement. Chief Keef wasn't the only artist putting O-Block on the map. King Von, Lil Durk, and other local rappers followed in his footsteps, each bringing their unique style and stories to the genre. King Von, in particular, became known for his vivid storytelling and authentic portrayal of street life. His tracks like Crazy Story and Took Her to the O painted a raw picture of the violence and loyalty that defined O-Block. For many O-Block members, music provided an essential outlet. In a world where violence and loss were constant companions, creating music offered a form of escape and self-expression. Drill music allowed them to share their experiences, vent their frustrations, and find a sense of purpose. It became a way to process trauma, and for some, a path to a better future. Notable tracks like Chief Keef's Love Sosa, Lil Durk's This Ain't What You Want, and King Von's Crazy Story had a profound impact, not just within the community, but also on a global scale. These songs gave listeners an unfiltered glimpse into life in O-Block, highlighting the harsh realities and the resilience of those who lived there. The music resonated with audiences far beyond Chicago, influencing the broader hip-hop landscape and inspiring a completely new generation of artists. In the midst of the rising drill music scene, O-Block was continually marked by profound tragedy and loss. Each death reverberated through the community, leaving scars that would never fully heal. One of the most notable losses was that of FBG Duck, a prominent rapper from a rival neighborhood. On a bright afternoon in August 2020, Duck was gunned down while shopping for his son's birthday present.
Cheryl, tonight, friends say it was a Chicago rapper who was gunned down here on one of Chicago's ritziest streets. They say 2 other people were also shot when 4 gunmen, witnesses say, jumped out of cars and fired from just a few feet away.
His death was a devastating blow, not just to his family and friends, but to the entire music community that had watched him rise. King Von, another key figure in O-Block's narrative, met a similarly tragic end in November of 2020. Von was involved in a violent altercation outside of an Atlanta nightclub.
Shot and killed after a deadly fight erupted in front of Monaco Hookah Lounge. 2 men approached King Von and his group in the parking lot, and an argument ensued. The argument quickly escalating to a shootout between the 2 groups.
The loss of King Von sent shockwaves through O-Block and beyond, leaving fans and fellow artists mourning the loss of one of drill music's brightest stars. Each murder called for vengeance, leading to further bloodshed. The formation of the Get Back Gang epitomized this relentless cycle. Comprised of O-Block members, the Get Back Gang sought retribution for the losses that they had suffered, further escalating the violence. Their actions led to numerous retaliatory attacks, each one pulling more young lives into the fray. The emotional toll on the community was immense. Families mourned their lost loved ones. Friends grappled with grief and anger, and the neighborhood continued to navigate an environment where violence was a constant threat. Amidst the turmoil and relentless violence, O-Block has not been without efforts to bring about positive change. Community leaders and activists have tirelessly worked to improve the area, seeking to provide better opportunities and safer environments for residents. Initiatives like youth mentorship programs, after-school activities, and job training have aimed to steer the younger generation away from gang life and towards a more promising future. Prominent figures like Lil Durk have played a crucial role in these efforts. Durk, a successful rapper with deep ties to O-Block, has often used his platform to advocate for change.
Big day, exciting day for the kids, definitely. Just giving back to the community, rocking out with us, you know what I'm saying, showing love. They just got a big negative vibe in Chicago right now. You know what I'm saying? And they just somewhat trying to change. They ain't expected for us to do it. So definitely, man. I'm excited to see the kids. Yeah. Neighborhood hero shirts. You know what I'm saying? It's a movement. You know what I'm saying? Not a gang, definitely. Come copy one. Go get you one. They're gonna be online soon. We going to Hamilton Park. It's a big part of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Got a lot of activities there for the kids.
The guys invested in local initiatives, provided resources for community programs, and even expressed interest in purchasing Parkway Gardens to ensure better living conditions for its residents. His commitment to uplifting his neighborhood has been a beacon of hope for many. On the other side, law enforcement and government intervention have had mixed results. The police have implemented various strategies from increased patrols to community policing, all in an attempt to curb the violence. However, these efforts have often fallen short, as the deep-rooted issues of poverty, lack of opportunities, and systemic neglect have continued to fuel the cycle of crime. While some law enforcement strategies have seen temporary success, they've also faced criticism for heavy-handed tactics and the inability to foster genuine trust within the community. The failures to address the underlying causes of violence have often rendered these interventions ineffective in the long run.